just because we get our happily ever after doesn't mean that that stuff that happened before didn't matter and doesn't hold significant weight in who we are and how we love and how we are loved. Hey everybody, welcome into Folklore and Flourish. You're here with Jane and Mark over at Blue Box 29. Today is Friday, February 13th. So today is Friday, February 13th. We've already been in a week full of love being tested. And now today, when it's already a lot of negative stuff is around, Friday the 13th, a lot of the time, scarier, spookier stuff, we're getting hit with the doubt today. So today is a big day, not just with number alignments and all the stuff I told you, like I'm doing today, you're doing today, but today is the doubt. But our theme is faith in love shaken. So we're going to take a look at several stories, 3 actually we've already heard before, but specifically focusing on the doubt within them and what happened when their love was shaken, when that stirred. We're going to look at the Greek, Norse, Hindu, and Irish folklore today. And remember that today is the doubt. And we'll see you after these 4 stories. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to honor the cultures behind the stories we are about to explore. The tales shared here come from many peoples, lands, and traditions. I do not change these stories to fit modern expectations or to align with today's social standards. Instead, I present them as they were told, sometimes beautiful, sometimes harsh, sometimes challenging. We are not here to judge the past, but to understand it, to listen, to learn, and to honor the ancestors who carried these stories forward. We also share stories from various religious traditions. These are presented in their historical and spiritual context, with respect for their beliefs that they represent. Every culture deserves respect, context, and acknowledgement, and this space is dedicated to doing exactly that. Story 1. Orpheus looks back. In Greek tradition, doubt enters love not as betrayal, but as fear. Orpheus, son of the muse Calliope, was known throughout Greece not for strength of arm or cunning of mind, but for music so precise it altered the order of the world. His lyre could calm stones leaned toward him, trees bent their branches to listen. When Orpheus loved, he loved with devotion rather than possession. And when Eurydice died, bitten by a snake on the morning of their wedding, the world fractured. Grief did not silence him. It sharpened him. Orpheus descended into the underworld not as a warrior, but as a petitioner. He sang before Hades and Persephone, gods unmoved by pleading but undone by truth carried without demand. His song did not argue that death was unjust. It did not promise obedience or sacrifice. It simply told the truth of love severed before it was complete. The dead wept, the furies stilled, even Hades listened. Eurydice was permitted to return on one condition. Orpheus must walk ahead of her as they ascended. He must not look back. He must trust that she followed, though he could not hear her footsteps. That was not punishment. It was a test of faith in silence. At first, Orpheus obeyed. The path was long and dark. The air grew thinner. Light returned slowly, painfully. Each step forward required him to walk without confirmation. Doubt began his care. What if she stumbled? What if she was lost? What if the gods had deceived him? Silence answered nothing. In Greek thought, doubt is not wicked. It is human. But it becomes destructive when it replaces trust with certainty-seeking. At the threshold of the living world, so close that light brushed his face, Orpheus turned. Eurydice was there, and then she was not. She did not cry out. She did not accuse. She only reached toward him as she faded, already returning to the realm he could not enter again. The tragedy of Orpheus is not that he doubted. It is that he required proof. Greek myth teaches that love, when tested by silence, asks not for reassurance, but for endurance. Orpheus loved deeply, but he could not bear uncertainty long enough to complete the crossing. In this story, doubt is not villainized, it is exposed. Love survives silence only when it is trusted more than fear. Story 2, Freyja's Sorrow. In Norse tradition, doubt does not speak loudly. It settles slowly, like winter. Freyja, god of fertility, peace, and prosperity, was not known for suffering. He governed sunlight on fields, gentle rain, and the promise of harvest. His presence meant abundance without struggle, growth without bloodshed. Where other gods claimed power through conquest, Freyja ruled through harmony. So when doubt entered his story, it was not expected. It began with a vision. From his high seat, Freyja glimpsed Gerther, a giantess walking through the frozen lands of Jotunheim. Her arms glowed as though carrying summer beneath her skin. Snow reflected her presence, ice softened where she stepped. Freyja did not approach her. He did not speak her name aloud. He watched. And in watching, something fractured. This was not doubt of love's existence. It was doubt of worthiness, of possibility, of whether desire could cross the boundaries the world had set in place. Freyja withdrew. In Norse storytelling, sorrow is not always dramatic. It often appears as absence. Freyja stopped eating. He stopped speaking. He turned away from feasts meant to celebrate life. The land responded. Fields weakened, growth slowed, prosperity dimmed. The gods noticed. When questioned, Freyja did not defend himself. He did not argue for his pain. He simply said he had seen something he could not reach. This is how doubt manifests in Norse myth. Not as confusion, but as silence. Freyja's servant, Skirnir, was sent to speak on his behalf. But even this act revealed Freyja's internal fracture. He gave Skirnir his sword, the blade that fought by itself, a symbol of his divine protection. Love demanded payment before certainty. Freyja waited. Waiting became anguish, not because Gerther had refused him. She had not yet spoken, but because he feared the answer that silence implied. Doubt filled the space where faith should have lived. In the end, Gerther agreed to meet Freyja, but the cost had already been paid. Freyja had surrendered the weapon that ensured his safety. In Ragnarok, the final battle, this loss would return. Freyja would stand unarmed against Surtur, the fire giant, and fall. Norse myth is unforgiving in this way. Choices echo forward. Doubt is not erased by resolution. Freyja's love was returned, his sorrow lifted, but the future bore the mark of his hesitation. This story does not condemn Freyja for doubting. It recognizes doubt as part of love's gravity, but it also teaches that faith delayed still exacts a cost. In Norse worldview, silence is not neutral. It is a force. When love is tested by quiet, inaction becomes a decision. Freyja loved deeply, but he waited too long to trust his own desire. The fields would bloom again, but winter would come. Story 3, Sita's Ordeal. In Hindu tradition, doubt does not arise from absence of love. It arises from fear of dishonor. Sita, wife of Rama, is not tested because she fails. She is tested because others cannot believe purity can survive captivity. After Sita is taken by Ravana, king of Lanka, she does not waver in devotion. She refuses Ravana's advances repeatedly, choosing exile, isolation, and threat rather than betrayal. Her faith remains intact even when her circumstances do not. In the Ramayana, love is not sentimental. It is bound to dharma, moral duty, cosmic order, responsibility beyond personal desire. When Rama finally defeats Ravana and rescues Sita, doubt enters the story not from him alone, but from the world watching. Rama loves Sita, but he is also a king. And a king, in Hindu epic tradition, does not belong to himself. He belongs to the people, to law, to legacy. The doubt he faces is not whether Sita is faithful, but whether faith alone is enough to satisfy a watching world. Silence surrounds them. Sita senses the distance immediately. Love that once felt certain now trembles beneath unspoken questions. She is not accused outright. That would be easier. Instead, she is asked to prove what she has already lived. The ordeal by fire is proposed. Agni, god of fire, is not destruction in Hindu belief. He is witness. Fire reveals truth. It does not invent it. To walk through flame is to invite the cosmos itself to testify. Sita does not refuse. Her doubt is not fear of the fire. It is grief that love requires spectacles to survive suspicion. She steps forward willingly, invoking the truth, invoking the earth, the heavens, and Agni himself as witnesses. If she has been unfaithful, let her burn. If she has remained true, let the fire protect her. She enters the flames and emerges untouched. Agni lifts her, declaring her purity before gods and men. The world is satisfied. The proof is complete. But something has shifted. Hindu tradition does not frame this moment as victory alone. It is also fracture. Doubt, once allowed, leaves a mark even when disproven. Sita's faith endures, but innocence does not return unchanged. Later retellings deepen this tension. Even after public validation, whispers resume. Rama faces the same dilemma again. Love is tested not by absence, but by repetition of suspicion. Eventually, Sita chooses the earth, her mother, over continued defense of her truth. She returns to the ground, not in defeat, but in refusal to live forever under doubt's shadow. Hindu storytelling does not offer easy resolution here. Love survives, faith survives, but silence, once breached by suspicion, alters relationship permanently. Sita's ordeal teaches that doubt does not only test the accused, it tests the one who asks for proof. Dharma requires care, not only in action, but in belief. Love that demands constant verification forgets how trust is formed. In this story, silence is both crucible and wound. Love remains sacred, but it is changed. Story 4. Eitan's Forgotten Love. In Irish mythology, doubt does not always arrive as suspicion. Sometimes it arrives as forgetting. Eitan is not abandoned, she is erased. In the Takmark Eitana, one of Ireland's great mythological circles, love is vulnerable not to betrayal, but to time, enchantment, and silence imposed by others. Eitan is the beloved of Midir, the god of the Tuatha De Danann, the ancient divine race of Ireland. Their love exists before kingdoms, before human law, before memory itself fractures. But jealousy enters the story through Fuavnach, Midir's first wife. Irish myth treats jealousy as a corrosive magic. Fuavnach does not confront Eitan directly. She dismantles her existence slowly, turning her into wind, water, and wandering form. Eitan is transformed again and again, losing her body, her place, and eventually her memory. She is reborn as a human woman. Eitan lives a full mortal life, unaware she has ever been loved before. She marries the High King of Ireland, Oakid, and becomes queen. Her life appears complete, ordered, and safe. But something remains wrong. In Irish storytelling, forgetting is not peace, it is imbalance. The soul remembers even when the mind does not. Eitan feels restlessness she cannot name, longing without origin, sorrow without explanation. Midir returns. He does not accuse her, he does not demand loyalty, he simply reminds her. Through games, riddles, and quiet persistence, Midir re-enters Eitan's world. He speaks to something older than memory. Love, in Irish myth, is not stored only in thought, it is carried in essence. The doubt shadows the reunion. Eitan does not remember choosing Midir. She cannot trust a love she cannot recall consenting to. Her hesitation is not betrayal. It is the fear of giving herself to a truth she cannot verify. Okid, sensing the pull, challenges midear. Games of skill are played, promises are made, love becomes wager. At the climax, midear asks to take Aton in his arms. Okid agrees, thinking he can control the outcome. Midear and Aton transform into swans and fly away together, escaping the human world entirely. Some versions say Aton's memory returns in that moment. Others leave it ambiguous. Irish myth allows uncertainty to stand. What matters is not whether Aton remembers fully, but that love persists even when memory falters. Doubt does not destroy love here. Time does not either. Love survives in forms beyond recognition, beyond proof, beyond conscious certainty. Yet loss remains. Aton loses her human life. Okid loses his queen. Midear regains his beloved, but only after centuries of silence and erasure. This is not a triumph without cost. Irish tradition treats love as something that can be obscured but not extinguished. Doubt may arise from forgetting, from enchantment, from interruption, but love remains, waiting for recognition. In this story, silence is not absence, it is delay. All right, welcome back in. Hope you enjoyed those 4 stories. So today we are reaching the end of week 2. We have just 2 days, counting today, of our love being tested. We are going to get a little bit of a break tomorrow. It is Valentine's Day. So love being tested, we get to the vow, kind of synchronicity with all of that. But today is really that hard part, is how doubt can really infect a relationship or an individual so quickly. Doubt is a disease that spreads fast in the mind. And we look at that through the Greek, Norse, Hindu, and Irish folklore today. And the daily thread is that across these traditions, doubt enters when love is forced to endure silence. Orpheus loses faith in what he cannot see. Freyja's sorrow grows when longing receives no answer. Sita is tested not by love's absence, but by its suspicion. Aton forgets not because love falls, but because memory is taken. Each story reveals that doubt is not the opposite of love. It is the moment love asks whether it will still be chosen without reassurance. Will you still choose me without being reassured? Can you love with faith? I think that's what a lot of these are asking, is true love is something beyond what can be seen.
Yeah.
What can be physically affirmed. There are things that you do have to rely on trust between your partner, that mutual respect, Otherwise, it'll just consume you with doubt, And so stepping right into this first one, we saw this with Orpheus before. Just the sun was hitting his face so close and turned at the last second because it was silent. He wasn't being reassured. He couldn't feel her. And
I thought it said he felt something.
he felt the sun on his face. Okay. Yeah. But the Greek myth frames doubt as a fracture in trust rather than moral failure. The story warns that seeking certainty too soon can undo what patience would preserve. I'm glad that this story came back up, because Eurydice, as the partner in the relationship that would rather follow than lead. I'm okay admitting that. I would rather you lead me than me lead you.
Right.
There are certain areas where I take the lead, but I don't want to lead. You do hope that your partner trusts that you're there, that you're following. And it is kind of heartbreaking that sometimes they do turn around and you do feel that, well, why don't they trust me? And I'm speaking like, because I felt that and I've told you that. Recently, I finally kind of said that, sometimes I just want you to trust that I do it without having to check on me.
Right.
And that's something that we're going through together, It's like you weren't always someone who had that wall up, right? There are reasons that it's up. So I'm going through my own stuff too, so I'm okay working with that with you. But that's what this made me kind of feel like.
Yeah.
As the partner, it's just like, I just need you to trust that I'm there. I'm following you. I'm doing what you asked of me. I can take it. I can, I just need you to lead the way and keep your eyes forward. How I showed you those videos where it was like that sermon where they were talking about women follow a purpose. They follow a mission. And that's what the man is the mission, And so I just need you to keep looking forward and just believe that I'm there. Like, don't ever go beyond where I could follow, or leave me behind, but just believe I'm there. Thanks what this one was. And I'm glad that we can share that stuff together.
Yeah.
Because there are definitely times where I was scared and I doubted, when there wasn't any need to, other than my own history, So it's not just you or not just me. It's definitely a we thing. If that makes sense. We. The second one, Freyja. So the Norse myth treats doubt as consequential rather than immoral. Freyja's sorrow shows that hesitation born of fear may still reshape fate, even when love is ultimately returned. So even if at the end of the day, you get where you get, with your loved one, with your partner, all of that stuff that happened prior, like in between that hesitation or making it, they still have consequences. They still have effects.
Right.
Kind of like makes me think of like relationships when you get with your forever partner, your forever person, and you have to discuss all the traumas, all the things, all the good and bad that happened before, and all the baggage that you're coming in with. So just because we get our happily ever after doesn't mean that that stuff that happened before didn't matter and doesn't hold significant weight in who we are and how we love and how we are loved and things like that. We're kind of going to go a little bit quicker through these because, like I said, we've seen the first 3 stories before, so it's not a brand new telling. So the third one, Sita. So this is where she was taken and they had to test her devotion, though, how loyal she was or how strong she was. So she had to go through the fire. Yes, she came out. She knew she was going to come out, but she still had to prove herself.
Right. Not only once, like this story wasn't the same. Like the other stories didn't say that she had to do it multiple times.
Yeah, well, and that
Man, it would have to come to a point where it's like enough's enough. Like I've shown you.
well, and just when that doubt hits you and like realizing that your partner doesn't trust you, it hurts. That's like hurtful. And with something like she was, her honor, her purity, her devotion was the thing he doubted because of what other people said. So he knew her better than anyone. and other people still infected his mind with doubt. And it's just, I do understand this. How do you come back from that? Something has shifted, and that's
makes it different.
the love is different. And so this one I felt like was a lot sadder this time around.
Yeah.
But this Hindu tradition presents doubt as socially imposed rather than intentionally generated. Sita's ordeal critiques the cost of suspicion placed upon love under public scrutiny. Why is it the public's business?
That's one
Why
thing.
do we think we have a right to people's love lives, their personal lives?
Yeah.
And I'm saying that like, why have I done that in the past? You know, why do I think that it's any of my right to know anyone's business
Right.
or to have an input in their business, to place doubt? Because I'm not, it doesn't affect me at the end of the day. I'm going home to me and mine. So Aton was changed, right? So the first wife, Midir's first wife, kind of slowly chipped away at her until she kind of lost her body, lost her voice, whatever, and then kind of lost her memory. Then she was reborn, married someone, you know, but it talked about how the soul remembers even when the mind doesn't. So Midir found her in her new life, and she just didn't, she couldn't trust it because she couldn't remember it, you know, so she couldn't verify. And so this is when her husband was like challenged him, and then he's like, okay, but then he asks for her to come into his arms, and then they turn into swans and fly off together. So the soul remembers beyond.
We've heard this story too,
mind.
then.
Oh, no. This one we haven't heard. The other one was when he had a dream about the swan and he walked in there. Yeah, this is a different one. But similar. Irish myth often frames doubt as loss of memory rather than loss of devotion. Love endures, but recognition may require time, transformation, and surrender to forces beyond control. So back to that, sometimes you just gotta have faith.
Yeah.
In things you can't see, feel, or verify.
Yeah. Pretty sure Limp Bizkit said you got to have faith.
So, with all four of those stories, it's going to be a short episode. All four of those stories, the lesson is love is tested in silence. That can be pretty hard.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Like, while we're sitting here talking, the biggest thing that pops into my mind is, and one thing I say a lot is, that's your energy. That's a 100% what this is. Like, when you're feeling that doubt, that's everything within you, whether it's stuff that you've went through personally or whatever. But anytime I've doubted something, that's because something has happened to me to where, not this person necessarily, but in my past, something has happened to where now I have doubt moving forward. So it's not really fair to your new partner to be like, someone else did something, so I'm not going to fully trust that. Like, that's the hard part, right? So, working through that, I think we're doing pretty good. I think there's definitely areas where myself personally could do better. But it's further along than, I would have anticipated for sure. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
What do you mean is further along? What's further along?
Well, just the dynamic.
Of
The
us?
strength. Yeah. The strength of it is just amazing.
So this reflection question for today is, what makes me doubt love? So what makes you doubt love? What makes me doubt love? Let's try and think about that today. Doubt, there's reason that it's there, And then other times it is, oh, it is something in my own past
Yeah.
that's making me feel this way. So get to kind of look at that and think about that and analyze if you're like ready for love too a lot of the time. So with that in mind, we're going to, for our activity today, we're going to write down one insecurity without explaining or defending it. So we're going to write down one insecurity without defending or explaining it. I would suggest burning it after, burning it. And then love is tested most sharply when doubt is faced rather than hidden. I was going to say, maybe keep it to yourself. But you could do it either way. But yeah, it's mainly facing it within yourself. Why am I feeling this way? What has happened to make me feel this way? And is it rational? Is it not?
Right. And sometimes just talking out loud to yourself or writing things down does a lot in your mind, honestly, to help you fix things. From some of the videos I've watched, from some of the research I've done, or Gaia videos, that truly helps within the psyche of just saying it or writing it down. It helps people tremendously. So definitely do it.
It really does. And just leaving it there. Write that insecurity down and then leave it there.
Yeah, why not?
Like, let that be its graveyard. But yeah, that's all that I have for you guys today. It's been a really long week of love being tested. We're reaching the weekend where it's time for some gushy kind of love and enjoyment. Yeah. And food. So we'll see you guys tomorrow, February 14th on Valentine's Day with the vow. So we'll see you guys then. Thanks for joining us on Folklore and Flourish.
See you guys. Love you.